Have you ever met someone who was completely wrong, but still more confident than everyone else in the room? They speak with certainty, they defend their opinion, they reject doubts, and even when the facts are weak, their confidence feels strong. But here is the strange part. Sometimes that person is not lying. Sometimes they are not trying to manipulate anyone. Sometimes they genuinely believe they are right. This is the psychology of people who are confident even when they are wrong. And according to Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, this happens because the human mind does not only search for truth, it searches for a story that feels complete. Kahneman explains that our mind works through two systems. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, and effortless. It creates quick impressions, quick feelings, and quick answers. System 2 is slower, more logical, more deliberate, and requires effort. It checks, analyzes, compares, calculates, and questions. Most people believe their decisions come from System 2. They think they are rational. They think they are carefully analyzing reality. But Kahneman shows that System 1 is often the secret author behind many of our judgments. It gives us an impression first, and then System 2 often accepts that impression instead of questioning it. This is where wrong confidence begins. A person gets a feeling. That feeling becomes an opinion. That opinion becomes a belief. And then the person starts defending that belief as if it came from deep thinking. But many times, it came from a quick mental shortcut. Part 1. Confidence is not proof. One of the most dangerous things about the mind is that confidence feels like evidence. When someone feels certain, they assume that certainty must mean something. They think, if I feel this strongly, I must be right. If this explanation feels clear, it must be true. If this judgment came to me quickly, maybe my intuition knows something. But Kahneman explains that confidence is often based on the coherence of the story in our mind, not on the quality of the evidence. In simple words, when the mind creates a smooth story, we feel confident. The story does not have to be complete. It does not have to include all the facts. It does not have to be statistically correct. It only has to feel clear. This is why people can be confident with very little information. They meet someone once and say, I know what kind of person he is. They see one failure and say, I know exactly why it happened. They watch one successful person and say, I know the formula. But often, they do not know. They only have a story that feels easy to believe. Part 2. The mind hates uncertainty. The human mind does not like gaps. It does not like randomness. It does not like confusion. It does not like saying, I don't know. So System 1 quickly fills the gaps. If something happens, the mind wants a reason. If someone succeeds, the mind wants a formula. If someone fails, the mind wants a flaw. If someone behaves strangely, the mind wants a simple explanation. This gives people a feeling of control. Because uncertainty is uncomfortable. It is difficult to accept that maybe the situation was more complex than we thought. Maybe luck played a role. Maybe timing mattered. Maybe we do not have enough information. Maybe our first explanation is wrong. But saying maybe requires humility, and System 1 prefers certainty. So instead of saying, I do not know enough, the mind says, I understand this. That is how people become confident, even when they are wrong. Part 3. The illusion of understanding. Kahneman describes a major problem in human thinking. We overestimate how much we understand the world. After something happens, we create a clean explanation. A business becomes successful, and people say, of course it worked. The founder was disciplined, visionary, and different. A relationship ends, and people say, the signs were always there. A market crashes, and people say, it was obvious. But before the outcome happened, it was not obvious. The future was uncertain. Many things could have happened. Many small events could have changed the result. But after the ending becomes known, the mind rewrites the story. This is hindsight. Hindsight makes the past look more predictable than it really was. And once the past looks predictable, people start believing they understood it all along. This is one reason people become confident in their wrong explanations. They are not remembering uncertainty. They are remembering a cleaned-up version of reality. Part 4. The illusion of validity. Another idea from Kahneman is the illusion of validity. This means people can feel strong confidence in a judgment even when that judgment is not reliable. Why? Because the evidence feels consistent. Imagine someone is judging another person. That person is quiet, organized, and serious. So the mind quickly says, he must be this type of person. The judgment feels right because the details match a familiar pattern. But matching a pattern is not the same as truth. The mind loves resemblance. It loves stereotypes. It loves clean connections. But reality is often messier than the pattern. This is why people can be wrong with confidence. Their mind is not checking all possibilities. It is checking whether the story feels coherent. And once the story feels coherent, confidence rises. Part 5. When feelings pretend to be reasoning. Kahneman also explains that emotions can guide judgment directly. Sometimes people do not ask, is this decision logically correct? They ask a simpler question without realizing it. Do I like this? This is called the affect heuristic. A person may trust a business idea because they like the founder. They may believe a political opinion because it matches their emotions. They may invest in something because the company feels impressive. They may defend someone because they personally like them. The real question may be difficult. Is this investment good? Is this person trustworthy? Is this argument supported by evidence? Is this decision wise? But System 1 replaces the hard question with an easier one. Do I like it? Does it feel good? Does it match what I already believe? And then the person becomes confident, not because they analyze the truth, but because their feelings gave them a quick answer. Part 6. Why smart people are not safe. A big mistake is thinking only unintelligent people become overconfident. But Kahneman's work shows that even smart people can fall into these traps. In fact, intelligence can sometimes make overconfidence stronger. Why? Because smart people are good at explaining things. They can build better arguments. They can defend weak opinions more beautifully. They can create a more convincing story after making a mistake. So the problem is not only lack of intelligence. The problem is that the mind often protects its own beliefs. Once a person believes something, they start looking for support. They notice evidence that confirms them. They ignore evidence that challenges them. And because their explanation becomes stronger in their own mind, their confidence grows. But confidence does not mean accuracy. A person can explain something well and still be wrong. Part 7. The blindness to our own biases. Kahneman says it is easier to recognize other people's mistakes than our own. This is uncomfortable, but true. When someone else jumps to conclusions, we can see it. When someone else ignores facts, we can see it. When someone else is overconfident, we can see it. But when we do the same thing, it feels different. Our own thoughts feel reasonable. Our own emotions feel justified. Our own stories feel complete. This is why overconfident people do not feel overconfident. They feel realistic. They do not think, I am ignoring uncertainty. They think, I can see the truth clearly. And that is the most dangerous part. The person who doubts themselves may check again, but the person who feels completely certain often stops searching. Part 8. How to become less wrong. The lesson from thinking fast and slow is not that intuition is always bad. Sometimes intuition is useful. Experts can develop accurate intuition through long practice, feedback, and real experience. But not every strong feeling is expert intuition. Sometimes it is just System 1 creating a fast answer. So the solution is not to question every thought all day. That would be exhausting and impossible. The solution is to recognize situations where mistakes are likely. When the stakes are high, slow down. Ask yourself, what evidence am I ignoring? What else could explain this? Am I trusting a story because it is true or because it feels good? Would I believe this if someone I disliked said it? Before the outcome happened, was it really obvious? These questions activate System 2. They create distance between your feeling and your final judgment, and sometimes that small pause is enough to save you from a confident mistake. Conclusion. So, what is the psychology of people who are confident even when they are wrong? It is the psychology of a mind that wants certainty more than uncertainty. It is System 1 creating quick impressions. It is System 2 accepting them too easily. It is hindsight making the past look obvious. It is emotion pretending to be evidence. It is a coherent story creating the feeling of truth. And it is our inability to see our own biases as clearly as we see the biases of others. The danger is not simply being wrong. Everyone is wrong sometimes. The real danger is being wrong with too much confidence. Because when you are wrong and unsure, you can still learn. But when you are wrong and certain, your mind closes the door. And that is when confidence stops being strength. It becomes a trap.